And welcome back to the TMCJ Podcast. We're on segment 2, our media segment, where this week we didn't do movie night again.
We didn't. Wait, is this the third week we have not gone?
Second weekend. Yeah, because we had one movie night week where we watched. The last one I think we watched was Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Halloween, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, it was a week after Halloween.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. Halloween, we didn't actually talk about movies at all. We just talked. Well, we talked about like spooky movies or what have you. But maybe we didn't do movie night that. It doesn't matter. This week, I have been. So something I may or may not have mentioned. In 2019, I did a New Year's resolution because I am a chronic rereader and rewatcher. Like, there are some books that I've probably read through like 3 or 4 times. Specifically the Song of Ice and Fire books, the ones that the Game of Thrones series is based on. I've reread all of the existing books. The first 3 of them, at least, I've reread probably 4 or 5 times, and the later books at least twice. So those are huge. They're like 1,000 pages each. And I do the same thing with TV shows that I really, really, really like. So in 2018, I was like, all right, I got to stop this. I'm gonna make a resolution to focus on finishing things and not just replaying the same thing. I do the same thing with games I really like too.
Yeah. I mean, you only really go back to reread things though when what you're currently reading is not entertaining you all that much. Like, you're reading it still because you've got halfway into the book and you don't want to leave off halfway through a story. But at the same time, it's really a slog.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been pretty good about it for the last year and a half, and I've successfully finished a lot of series that, had I just been following the same old pattern, I would have just watched them about a quarter of the way through and then given up. But having pushed through and kept watching them, there's a lot of series that I've found I really liked after I got through the parts that would have made me stop. So Vikings that I talked about last week, that's a perfect example. I tried to watch that series through a couple times because season 1 was amazing, but season 2 has a very slow start, and it killed the series for me the first 2 times I tried to watch it. Right. This time I was like, nope, I'm going to power through and just finish the series. Now I'm on season 4, and I'm still loving it.
Yeah. That's cool.
But the reason... Sorry, go on.
You just keep going on. Okay. I'll remember.
The reason I brought that whole long preface up is this week I've been... it's been a few years since I've seen this series, but I've decided to rewatch this Netflix series that I think started out on TV, but eventually went to Netflix, that I really, really liked, called Longmire. It's a show set in the modern day in Wyoming, and it follows this one particular sheriff's department in kind of this backwater county. And it has some crime and investigation stuff to it, but there's a lot of interesting small town politics that are really interesting, especially small town Midwestern politics, because now what they have to deal with out there is the kind of political interactions between the Native American reservations and then the actual rest of the county, because the police don't have jurisdiction on the reservations, and the reservation police don't have jurisdiction off the reservations. And so you end up with... That ends up being a plot point in a lot of the series. But it's a series that has a lot of really well-written characters, a lot of really well thought out and compelling stories where there isn't just a clear good guy and bad guy, where there's a lot of nuance to it, which I should be clear by now is my favorite type of story, where you can't just point to one person and go, this person is the villain. Anyway.
Yeah. You right?
Sorry, no, I realized I talked very fast, was completely out of breath, and then had to breathe in for a second. I've
So
had
what I was
too
going to
much
say
tea.
earlier
I've had too much tea.
was that yeah, I get the same thing with games where some games I start them up and they just look super goddamn complex. But once you get past that really slow, horrible, grindy part, the boring part,
Mm.
a game can be really enjoyable. Like Car Mechanic Simulator probably look. I mean, I remember actually when I started up, it looked like so many things that I did not understand in any way. But I then ended up playing it to completion and enjoying it a great deal. Um, and the game I've been playing just recently, I won't go into it now because I think we should save it for the third part.
Mm.
Again, there's really weird mechanics in the game that take a lot of understanding, and I still don't understand it despite hours of playing. But if I do manage to get past that, it does look like a very fun game.
I've so I feel like that's a feeling I have a lot when I'm looking at what are they called, like 4K games, like the Civilization kind of games.
Oh god,
Where
yeah,
there's
Civilization, the learning curve is...
yeah,
Oof.
there's a lot of like tech trees and interactions and weird things units can do, and proper paths to go through, and there's a lot of reading to it. And there's a basically right when you start off with a lot of those games, not necessarily the latter Civilization games. I feel like they've dumbed them down significantly. But
Really? I think the earlier ones were a lot easier.
really, I Civ 4 I found I
Civ
never
4 was
played the really
great.
old ones. I started with Civ 4.
Yeah.
But other ones like I think Homeworld was one of them. Everspace or something like that. These games, or then
Endless?
you've got games like Crusader Kings, which are very, very complicated. You've got
Yeah.
like a million different things going on, and there's a lot of reading to it. So if you're not in the right mindset to actually put in that initial like push through the learning curve, you're gonna drop the game and be like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah, especially when you're playing online, because if you're playing any game competitively online, you're going to start out absolutely sucking, and the if you get to the game early, you have a far better chance because people haven't learned the nuances of the game yet. But when we played Civilization, right? There was a group of us in the Hive that played Civilization, and there was that game where it was 2v2, you and me versus Yi and Scott, right?
Mm.
And I'd actually spent quite a bit of time on Civilization prior to this game. And so I went into boat tech with the Norse or something,
Yeah.
and I just dominated the sea. And Scott and Yi were divided by a sea border. So we just murdered them to a degree that I feel bad because I was being really cocky at the time. Scott got bored and left the game because he was fed up.
Yeah.
You fell asleep. And then I still managed to kill Yi's army on my own because I think I like sent in bombers or something to his capital city while he still had,
Knights or something.
musket men. Yeah. So I can understand it's really not fun playing online if you're on different levels of experience.
And that's another thing too, is like in those games, even games that have a relatively shallow learning curve at the beginning, if you jump into a game like that and you know very little about it, and there's a serious like well-defined what you're supposed to be doing or what's the most efficient strategy, it can be brutal, because you might be like what's a good example? So for one of those videos I put out during the week, the 5-second attention span ones, I played this game called, it had some weird Eternal something. It was like,
You talk about the light one.
no,
the
no.
wall.
Wait, maybe. I don't know. It was essentially a battle royale mixed with a MOBA. So a MOBA like League of Legends or like Dota 2 or something like that, mixed with like a PUBG, Fortnite style battle royale.
Do you remember what it was called?
ER Black something. I don't know. I played it a few weeks ago.
Alright, you keep talking, Al.
Anyway, Eternal Return Black Survival. That's what it was. Anyway.
Sure, I can't see it.
It's a free-to-play thing on Steam. But my point being is, like, I've played a lot of, like, MOBA games, and I've played, like, StarCraft and stuff. So the point and click and, like, actual mechanic part of it, I was very good at. But I found myself stopping and staring at items like, what the hell does this thing do? I had no idea, like, the actual nuances of the game. And I played it online, because that's the only way to play it. I mean, you could play against AI, but that would be stupid.
Oh, you talking about the one where it was like you're in a city?
Yeah. And I was playing as some psycho
and
chick
you got, like,
with a knife.
You got second place in, like, your first game.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember watching
my
that
second game. Second place. My first game, I died in the first 3 seconds.
Oh, okay.
But
at least that's short games, though.
Yeah, and I did have fun with the game, and I'm tempted to try it out again and play it a little bit more, but it seems like there'd be a bit of a time commitment if I actually wanted to get good at it. And but that was my point, is it can be a little bit dissuading when, even if you find yourself like you've played games like it before, mechanically you think you're pretty good with it, and you are pretty good with it, but then there's just nuances on how the game is played in the meta sense, like what items are good and not good, what crafting things you need to pick up and are best for the items that you're using, what characters are good in what situations, like how you should play them. That sort of nuance, I feel, is different from game to game, and when, depending on the degree of nuance there, depending on the degree of stuff that you have to learn outside of just the base mechanics of the game, that can be also, especially when you're talking about online gaming, can be kind of dissuasive to people trying to play it for the first time.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
I was just trying to remember that. But speaking of people online, one thing that I've been reminded of very recently is that not all gaming communities online are 100% toxic. And I do mean I had to be reminded of that because there are a lot of toxic people online.
Yeah.
On Payday 2, which I've returned to recently because of the patch number 200.
Jesus.
Update 200, sorry, not patch. They have basically extended the game out a great deal more length to it, and yeah, I've gone back to it. I've been playing it, and the people on Payday 2, or at least a lot of them, are really nice. It's a really nice community, which, considering you're playing bank robbers, is quite surprising.
You're playing as a gentleman thief.
Yeah, like, maybe it's because you have to work as a team, so if you do your job properly, people are inclined to be nice. But then on the flip side, you play a game like League of Legends where you play as a team still, but they're wankers.
Oh,
to
everyone
put it nicely. So
this may be, and I think it's the nature of the game, because you're fighting. You know what? I don't know. I haven't played Payday, so I can't say. But I think I have an idea why League of Legends players tend to be that.
Right.
For one, the games tend to be very long and stressful, so there's an amount of time commitment. So if you feel like somebody else is screwing you over, then people get even more angry. There's also League of Legends, at least modern League of Legends, there really isn't a whole lot of room for creative play. Like, if you try to do something off meta, it will immediately incite rage. Even in, like, a casual game, people are just, like, infuriated if you don't follow the precise order of arrangements.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're... So, that also adds to the anger. And then, just the fact that it is a very, very competitive, very competitive game, where it's, PvP, and...
That's the thing. I was about to say.
There's elements of
It's
trash talk
PvP.
to it too, and yeah.
Oh, PvP meaning player versus player. So
Oh,
they're
yeah.
fighting other people online.
Yeah. So I feel like all of those things combine together to make it a very aggressive and very toxic player base.
Yeah.
That
Payday 2 is... Sorry, go on.
no.
see you
Finish your thought about Payday 2, but I did want to move into something else that this is making me think of.
Okay. Payday 2 is players versus a computer. So there's no actual person to direct hatred at if something goes wrong. You can only really blame yourself or your team. And like I said, generally, it's not the end of the world if you fail a mission because you can just restart it. You'll lose like half an hour out of your life, but you don't go down in any rankings, nothing like that. What frustrates me is that because the game is so old now, there's a lot of modding for it. And there are some mods that I think are completely fine, and some are pretty cool even. Like one that turns explosions into, instead of just a regular explosion, it explodes in like a rainbow. I think that's awesome.
Confetti.
Love that shit. There's stuff that makes the enemies have like Bob Ross faces, all sorts. What I am less of a fan of is the things that I consider hacking, or not hacking, just cheating.
Yeah.
Which is enhanced heads-up displays, which show things that are happening that normally when you're playing the game you can't see, such as your teammates' loadouts and things. You can't really see what your teammates have got running unless you just look at their character or ask them. But with this, it gives people a big list of information on what everyone in your group has, and some of them even automatically post that into the chat for everyone else in the group to see. So you end up with like a text box with everyone's stats, everyone's playtime, everyone's kills, everyone's maiden middle name. Like, it does frustrate me a little bit, but yes, generally people are very nice in that game, and so I've been playing it a fuck ton. I'm done.
Oh, that's a, yeah. So what you're describing is those sort of like almost cheating mods are things that, just think going back to League, are things that have been officially added to the game, and I didn't like them when they added them in. Like a lot of people were like, oh, they're just quality of life things and stuff like that, but I felt like it kind of took away a lot from the ability for your team to like cooperate and
it takes the challenge out of the game.
Not only the challenge. So I'll give you a perfect example. So there are two major objectives on the map in League of Legends. There's Baron and there's Dragon, and they respawn at given like intervals, right? And they have timers on them. Same thing, and there are buffs in the map, and they also have respawn timers. I think it's like a minute and a half for the buffs and like 2.5 minutes.
You can look at it in tab, can't you?
You can now. You didn't used to. The timers were always there, but you didn't always be able to. So what would happen is there'd be a player, like a good support player, would pay attention to when the dragon died and would time it and tell people, hey, it's coming up in a few seconds. And I thought that added to the cooperative nature, because now you're reliant on a teammate being a good person and checking things out for you and like being there to support you. Now it's just like, how did you guys not notice this? The timer's right there. Hit the fucking tab button. It's...
Exactly.
I feel like it took away from something that was one of the few things in the game that was actually adding a motivation to be cooperative with your team and not just mute them because you're just assuming they're going to swear in your face.
A reason to be jovial. Not jovial.
But,
communicate.
Yeah.
The same thing, there's...
amicable, I think is the word you're looking for.
That works too. But there's... drills in Payday 2, they take a certain amount of time, and to see how much time a drill has got left on it, you have to go over to the drill, and there's a little screen on the drill that says how much time is left. But again, these mods allow it so that you can be anywhere on the map, and it just tells you how much time is left on every single drill that's placed. It's exactly the same as what you've just described, except it's not something that the game makers released. It's something that modders have made, and yeah.
Yeah, it comes comes down to the question of like, are you lessening the game's experience by putting these things in place, or are you enhancing it? And there's a different. I think some things, like maybe if the HUD looks like crap and you were just cleaning it up and making it, more efficient in the screen, that I can see.
Aesthetics.
Yeah. But going quickly back to, because I want to say this before I forget it. The thing I was going to bring up about when we were talking about toxic versus more jovial kind of communities on gaming, I think in competitive gaming, I almost prefer the not toxic ones where people are like, oh, this is so fucking stupid, I'm just gonna, let the other team win or something like that. Those people are shitheads. But if you're just trash talking, I don't ever see a problem with that. But this might be because when I started playing online gaming, it was with GameSpy Arcade with the original Xbox, playing Halo 1 online. And God, if you wanted to see people like really getting into trash talk, like that was pretty bad. But then when Xbox Live came out, I was playing that, and there was no like filters, no moderation really on that. Like if somebody was making threats and stuff, you could report them, but who knows what actually happened with that.
Yeah.
The YouTuber Donkey, right?
Yeah. Video game Donkey.
Yeah. I follow some of his videos, and he had one about the early days of Xbox Live, and his experience was very similar to my own. He was like, little 13-year-old kid puts his or 12 or something. I can't remember how old I was when it came out. But you put your headset on for the first time, and you're like, hey guys, let's do this. And then in the background you just hear, oh, shut up, you fucking little kid. What the fuck are you doing here? Shut the fuck up. And that was about my first experience with Xbox Live. And the way he describes it in the video, which is hilarious, is just like, and then when I heard that, I just had the biggest smile on my face and thought, this is awesome. And mine was the same thing. Like, I loved that, like, just open whatever shit talking that you could do. Like, you still worked together and tried to do things, but, if somebody was talking shit, you talk shit back to them. You didn't, like, mute them or report them. That was... I loved that experience. But I realized that experience isn't for everyone, which is why the mute button exists. But...
Yeah, obviously, we have very different approaches on these kinds of things. I tend to ignore people as hard as I can. If they say something that genuinely like goes over a line, then I'll absolutely call them out on it. But otherwise, it's people just being angry. Just let them be angry, and is my point of view. Yours is fuck you.
I like engaging in a little back and forth shit talking. I find it fun. Now, granted, if somebody is just like, if it's actually affecting the game where they're just typing non-stop, and it's distracting to me, and I feel like, okay, we're probably gonna lose if I keep engaging with this person, that's generally the situation where I'll mute them. But if it's... That
tends to happen a lot in HOTS, doesn't it? Where people spend so much time trying to angrily type
that they're not actually playing the game anymore.
Yeah.
And
that literally happened to me the other day. I was playing, not on HOTS, I was playing Payday, and I've played the game a lot, so I had this particular build, which is not very well known, and some guy was like, you're cheating, you can't kill that unit with 2 swings of a sword, that's cheating, you're cheating. And I'm like, no, it's not cheating, look it up. And then he was stood still in one spot for like 2 minutes.
He was looking it up.
And in that time, all 3 of us that were the other 3 people on the team got knocked down and needed reviving, and he was standing there in the AFK pose looking us up, and then he finally gets back and he's like, oh yeah, sorry, I accused you of cheating. I'm like, dude, we're all dead.
Look it up after the game, you jackass.
And then the cream on the cake, he fucking quits out of the game. And so we instantly failed the mission. I was pissed.
I'm thinking back to, like, I'm wondering about like these different, like you said, we do have kind of different different feelings about trash talking games and like just the general feel of it. And I'm thinking back to my high school days, and I'm wondering if that may have colored my experience a little bit too. I'm remembering this one time. I was probably like 14 or 15. I was over at a friend's house, and they were playing Madden on the GameCube. To date how old this was, and
that's basketball, right?
No, Madden is football.
Football.
Our football, not your football.
Yeah. It's not FIFA.
So one of my friends, he's winning, right? Like he's got he pulls off some stupid move, and he's doing like a 90-yard run and he's about to score. And my other friend, like he's trash talking, and my other friend gets so pissed, he stands up, unplugs my one friend's controller, and then just starts punching him in the chest. And in the meantime, his teammate, who still had his controller plugged in, tackles the other guy who can't move because his controller's unplugged, and he's getting pummeled, and then takes the ball the whole way back and scores.
Yeah.
Oh my god! But again,
that's among friends. Though,
but it is among friends, and that I feel like obviously you wouldn't do that at like say a public video game tournament.
Can you imagine seeing that at an esports tournament? Some guy just takes off his headphones, runs over to the enemy team, and just starts wailing.
Oh my god! I would love to see it, but yeah, it's not something. You're right. That is, it's a fond memory for me because it was among friends. It was among good friends.
Yeah.
But, and I think that also is the divide. There's the difference between like trash talk and just straight up just you're having a temper tantrum online.
Yeah, I see it far too often in like any game that we're losing. The real sign for me whether someone is petty or not is whether they say GG at the end of the match when we lose, and it's like 90% of people.
Yeah.
It's always all GGs when you win, but when you lose, you might get one, maybe two.
Yeah, and it depends on how good the match. Like, because you can lose matches that were really close and really fun to play. The one thing that's always, speaking of that, GG, by the way, standing for good game. So, in StarCraft, typically it's considered very bad form to say GG first if it looks like you're about to win.
Yeah.
And it's honestly it's gotten to the point where it's literally an insult. So if you've pushed into somebody's base, you've taken out like their workers, you've taken out their army, you're about to win the game, and you say GG, that's basically like you spitting in their face after you won the game.
Yeah. It's the same with Minion Masters, although obviously that's
a bit less competitive
less
than StarCraft.
aggro.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get to the end and like they're about to murder you with I was about to say a butcher. Cleaver, that's the word. And they put up the well played happy face sign. And you're like, ooh, you arsehole.
Yeah. But part of me wonders, like in a bit more casual games like that, and I say a bit more because it is still, like, when you get to the higher ranks, it does get still pretty competitive. I'm wondering, because we talked before on the podcast about internet, like, online courtesy, right? Like, the sort of things that, things you do and don't do, like, online just as a matter of course, and now that everyone's working remotely, you've got a ton more people online, and they don't know these little things, like you're not supposed to leave your mic going when you've got like a TV blasting in the background because everyone can hear it.
Or putting full stops, because that is very aggressive if you use full stops.
Yeah, exactly. Full stop for the American audience, meaning a period.
For the UK audience, that does not mean someone is having a bad time of the month. Sorry.
Full stop sounds like something you'd use in a telegram.
What? No, you just use dot.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I'm thinking Morse code.
You're thinking of Morse code, yeah. Dot, dash, dash, dot, dot. God, going completely off into the weeds here.
Wow, I can't believe you just said that in Morse code. I'm very offended.
I have no idea what I just said in Morse code. But I do think that there is a level of that too. Going back to what we talked about in segment 1, where it's text-based. So I feel like there are probably a few people out there who don't play a ton of competitive games, and they don't realize that they're being
hostile.
Yeah, that what they're doing can be interpreted as hostile, because in their head they're thinking the words in like a tone of voice. They know their attitude, but to the other person on the other end, they're just seeing the text.
Does that make us snowflakes?
No, I just think it's like it's normal human like interpretation. Like what am I trying to say? Like how
it's misinterpretation, yeah.
A misinterpretation of language. Like this is what I was talking about earlier when I said, you know, face-to-face communications, you have 4 different avenues to figure out like what somebody's actual meaning is behind what they're saying. But then, you know, voice communication, you've only got 2, and then text communication, you've only got 1. So it's very easy to misinterpret, especially in that kind of heightened, like, competitive environment. You've just lost a game or something like that, and somebody sends a message that in their mind maybe is courteous. They're like, hey, you played really well. Good job.
Yeah.
But to your mind, you just lost a game, and they're just being smug. That might be the way that you're pulling out of it. That's kind of what I was going for there. Not like, I don't know, somebody said, hey, you played really well, and in your mind, you're like, what'd you say about my mother?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not describing that as well as I could, but...
No, I think we get the... I mean, I certainly have the point. I don't know if everyone else does. How well can people read, guys?
I don't know. I mean, I can't read very well. You've heard me read things aloud.
I said read you, not read you.
I apparently can't listen either.
No. Man, I wonder... Because YouTube auto makes subtitles for videos, don't they? I wonder what... I bet there's a bunch of hilarious things.
Oh my god, we should...
that it doesn't pick up on in our videos.
I really want to check this sometime. This will be something we can do just for fun at some point. That being said, we are at the end of segment 2. Do you have any final thoughts before I wrap us up?
I don't know. This was meant to be a media segment, but we mostly spoke about games.
Games are a form of media.
Yes. And that is to say, no, I don't have anything to say.
Okay. All right. That is going to be the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast. We are going to take a brief intermission and then be right back with segment 3.